Welcome to the Women's National League wrap for Series 15. I'm joined today with Seana Cooke, who brings with her a wealth of knowledge from the Women's National League. We've only got 3 games to cover from this weekend, and we'll start with Shelbourne versus Treaty. Seana, Shelbourne just proved too much for Treaty there. A very, very dominant display, 7-2. I feel like their attacking force has just gotten stronger and stronger as the season goes on. And obviously, Saoirse Noonan was a signing that was talked about so much coming into this season, and she seems to have really grown into the team recently. 2 goals against Treaty, 2 goals against Peamount. What have you made of her recent performances?
I think, yeah, she's really started to kind of grow into the that kind of central striker role. She started off with Shells a bit out wide. I don't think it suited her too well. But since she's gone centrally and she's got people like Kira Grant, Jamie Finn, Noel, Jess Sue, Emily running off her, she's really come into herself. I call her Noonan the defender's nightmare because she has this ability to drop in between the lines and kind of make defenders really think about, should I track her in there? When you watch that Treaty game, like a lot of the goals come from Saoirse dropping deep and the space being in behind for Jamie and Kira and other players to run into. So yeah, like she brings a lot more to Shells than just goals, and I think she's been the missing piece of the puzzle for them that they've had over the past few years.
Yeah, you can really see her link up play is really coming on with confidence as well. And I know she's going to be someone who wants to be in the women's national team and stuff like that. And these performances are certainly going to help her confidence. But then moving on, Wexford also proved too much for Cork City. It was a really good display from them, 4-1. I think when we come to the title race, a lot of people are focusing on Peamount and Shelbourne. But do you think it'd be a bit silly to rule Wexford out at this stage?
Yeah, definitely. Like they're a team with a wealth of experience and there's a lot of hunger there. They know how to win leagues. They've players there that have been there and done it before. They probably hadn't had the greatest start to the season, and then with the change of management. But they've kind of settled into their own. I think Sinead Taylor has become a pivotal figure for them. She was involved in a few of the goals of the weekend. A big game for them, I think, is going to be Peamount. If they beat Peamount, I think people will start to consider them as title contenders. But until then, I think the jury's still out a little bit.
And yeah, you mentioned their Peamount, who were against Athlone Town at the weekend, and they had a really, really tough game, only beating them 2-1. Some would say maybe Athlone Town deserved the draw. They seem a little bit rattled after dropping points recently. And now that they've lost Claire Walsh and Della Doherty at the back, do you think that they're going to struggle a little bit more this half of the season than they did at the beginning?
They're definitely not going to have it all their own way, and like losing Claire, I think, was a massive loss for them. Previously to Claire, it was Nia Farley, which they would have essentially been, 2 of the main players for them. They've had the defensive unit changed, which can take some time to get used to. You generally want a period of pre-season to allow 2 centre halves to get used to each other, but they haven't had that opportunity. But then again, the likes of Dora and Tegan are experienced players. I think again the game against Youths is going to be definitive as much for Peamount as it is for Youths now, and they've got to really, really be Youths to get that confidence back again. But like they're grinding out results. That's a quality team that they play bad and still win.
Yeah, and I think with Peamount, maybe this will be the time where the more experienced players step up, like Karen Duggan, Anya O'Gorman. Do you think that they can just push that team through this maybe more difficult period and help them to kind of get back on top?
Yeah, definitely. Like Karen and Anya are, brilliant, experienced players. They have the ability to drive teams on. Like I think you could see even Stephanie Roach in the game, really adds the experience there. But I also think that, they can't rely on those players. They've done their time and they've pulled them through so many games. So other players around them now have to step up as well. There's pressure on Eleanor and, even Lauren coming in, to kind of step up to the plate, and Tegan and Dora at the back now to provide some stability.
Speaking just on that there, Lauren Kelly has obviously just come into the team. There's been a few big transfers happening over the last few weeks. Kiva Keenan coming back to Shelburne, Seana Fox going to Shelburne, Della Doherty going to Wexford Youths. Who do you think is going to have the biggest impact at their new club?
Yeah, I was thinking about this. I think I wouldn't like to put too much pressure on Della because she's a young player and she has to be afforded the time to still develop. So that involves making mistakes and learning. But you know, she's definitely one to watch. You know, you're left then with Lauren and then Kiva and Seana. I think Lauren is going to Peamount with a point to prove, and there's nothing more dangerous than a player with a point to prove. And she could essentially end Youth's chances of a league, which hopefully they won't ruin that decision to let her go. But the one thing I've noticed is the top three, they're all scoring goals, but they're equally conceding goals. So it potentially could come down to the fact that Shells have brought in two really quality defenders and have that to their artillery now. You know, to kind of, you know, they have conceded a few easy goals. But bringing in two players that are experienced, you know, Seana Fox is an out-and-out defender, you know, brings something different in comparison to Pearl and Jess. And Kiva can play right back. She's a very strong right back, but then she's that attacking quality as well. So potentially it could be the fact that, you know, if they can get more, I suppose, defensive quality to their game, you know, the other teams, I think Peamount brought in Lauren, she'll add to their attack, but they're still a little bit exposed defensively.
Yeah, and final question for you. It might be a bit of a stupid one to ask you, but who are you backing for the title race then?
Well, yeah, I suppose it's a bit of a heart and head, isn't it? You know, Shells I think are playing like with real flair this year. Like in my opinion, that's the best Shells starting 11 we've ever seen. I think they're definitely up there, but you can't rule out Peamount. They're grinding out results. Eleanor's playing absolutely brilliant, and then, you know, I also have to say Wexford as well could be in with a shout. Kylie's finding form again, but yeah, I couldn't say at this point in time. The Wexford News game, if you were to ask me after that, I'll let you know.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough one to call, but thanks so much for coming on today, giving your thoughts and your views. That is a wrap for Series 15, and we'll be back again next week to cover Series 16 action.